You guys asked for a spoiler of Promising Young Woman, so here it is. And for the ones who didn't hear me the first time, it is a spoiler. If you want to watch it for yourself, it's available on Prime Video. But it follows the story of a woman named Cassie, and for years she has been struggling with the tragic loss of her best friend Nina. A few years before, they were both in med school together, and Nina had went to a party with their other friend named Madison, and this time Cassie decided to stay in for the night. While at the party, Nina had a little too much to drink, and that's when one of their classmates named Alex decided to take advantage of her, and doing so right in front of all of his friends. The next morning, Nina was so disturbed about what happened to her, and she told everyone. The police, the dean, her friends, her family, but her cries fell on many deaf ears. The ones who could actually do something about it did not listen to her. Her close friend Madison didn't believe her, and Alex's lawyer eventually bullied her into silence. This became so unbearable for Nina that she dropped out of med school and ended up taking her own life. After all of this, Cassie was filled with so much grief, pain, and guilt for not going to the party that night. So when Nina had dropped out of school, Cassie also did too. And after Nina had passed away, she ended up working at a small coffee shop during the day. But at night is when she would go to bars and act like she was drunk. And I mean extremely intoxicated. And that's where it never fails. A nice guy would always come up to her and see if she was okay. In their eyes, she clearly wasn't. So they would always offer to take her home, but then end up taking her back to their house. That's where they would give her more alcohol or substances, and then try to sleep with her, to which she always said no. And they never listened. And just when these guys think they're about to get lucky, she snaps right back to sober Cassie and firmly tells them again that she said no. She basically scares these guys into never doing this again, and also to respect consent. But everything changes for Cassie when she runs into Ryan. And Ryan is an old classmate from med school. They eventually go on a date, and that's where she learns that Alex, the one that was behind everything that happened to Nina, was actually getting married. After hearing this, Cassie decided that it was time to get the ultimate revenge. And not just on Alex, but every single person that was involved. First, Madison, for not believing Nina and still being friends with these people. Cassie invited her out to lunch, then got her drunk. And then after that, left her with a man who she paid to take her back to a hotel room. And that's where he was supposed to stage the room like they had slept together. Then Cassie went after the dean of the school. She went after her for sweeping everything under the rug and still praising the man who did this to Nina. Next was Alex's lawyer, who had surprisingly felt very guilty and ashamed of what he had done. So instead of sending a man for hire to go in and do whatever he wants with him, Cassie ended up forgiving him and letting him go. At the same time, Cassie is trying to balance her new relationship with Ryan, which becomes very hard to do when he sees her one night leaving the club very intoxicated with another man. We know what she was doing, but he clearly did not. So eventually, Cassie decides to put an end to this revenge plot. Between what just happened with Ryan and also Nina's mother encouraging her to try to heal and move on from everything, she felt that it was time. And once she did, her and Ryan's relationship progressed so much. They were so happy to the point where he even went to meet her family. But this moment did not last forever. Madison showed up at Cassie's house one day, and she was so upset about what happened at lunch. But that's when she decides to tell Cassie that there was a video taken the night that everything happened to Nina, and she just so happened to have kept it on her old phone. Once Cassie watched it, she finally saw the horrific things that happened to Nina that night, and also learned who was involved, one of them being her new boyfriend, Ryan. That's when she decides to confront him, and demands that he tells her where Alex's bachelor party is going to be. The next day, she ends up going there disguised as a spicy nurse. She makes all of Alex's friends take these shots that end up putting them to sleep, but not before she could get Alex upstairs and handcuff him to the bed. And that's where she reveals the real reason why she's there. But in the middle of this great revenge plan, Alex manages to free himself and take Cassie's life. He killed her. Then the next morning, him and his best friend Joe ended up covering up the evidence. Also, their little lives wouldn't be ruined. A few days later at Alex's wedding, Ryan ended up getting a scheduled text from Cassie, and she was asking if he thought that it was over. Seconds later, police cars showed up to arrest Alex for her murder. Little did they know, Cassie had a backup plan. She had sent the phone over to the lawyer and left a note saying that if she ever disappeared, it was Alex who did it, and basically gave him the rundown on the entire plan, as well as what to do if she didn't come home. At the end of the movie, we can assume that Cassie and Nina have been reunited in the afterlife, and Alex is now going to pay for his crimes not just against Cassie, but also for Nina. Honestly, you guys, this movie is wild. And the ending is very polarizing. It's either you're really gonna love the ending, or you're gonna hate it because you wanted Cassie to survive. And I'm one of those people. I felt like she could have done something else, she could have gotten revenge, and she could have survived. But others are like, no, this was the only way. But if you've seen the movie, I want to know your thoughts. What did you think of Promising Young Woman? Let me know in the comment section.